is all that there is. Love, light, joy, beauty, harmony, grace. And as we breathe as the one, the invitation is to bless this time together, to bless all that is arising, to all that we will get to hear and question and investigate, to open ourselves into a place of curiosity as we welcome this time of transition. So rather than resisting, we are saying yes. And we open, open, open. How grateful I am for this beautiful community. How grateful I am for Reverend Cynthia Vermillion Foster and all the gifts and talents that she brings, and that she will get to introduce herself to everyone today. And I know that this time truly is in service to Unity and Marin's greatest and highest good. And so it is. Amen. Ashe. I can't say that now without laughing. Can't say that now without laughing. It's so funny. So Ashe is an African, it's kind of the equivalent to Amen, or so it is, but it also has a sense that the ancestors are agreeing to. Right? That it's everything saying yes. Right? Amen to that too, right? Ashe. So for those in Zoom, I just uploaded, oh, Cynthia's here, wonderful, welcome Cynthia. I uploaded into the chat several documents so that if you're in the Zoom room, you can access those documents. If you click on them, you can actually see them. There are 3. There's Transition Team, Transitional Consulting, and Reverend Cynthia's Letter to Unity. If you're here in the space, you have them in your program. There's a pink and a yellow sheet of paper that you have. And if you're missing, there's a pink one in there too, Cindy. So I think Cynthia is going to be referring to that. So I'm going to introduce Cynthia in just a moment. I can't tell you guys how excited I am. Can I just say how excited I am that Cynthia is coming to work with us? So Cynthia and I have known each other for many years, and Cynthia used to be in charge of member services at Unity Worldwide Ministries, which meant that anytime there was a problem in a ministry, it was Cynthia that was on the front line for every issue that was coming up in ministries. She is centered, calm, incredibly knowledgeable about a wide range of systems, right? And she brings just a tremendous amount of gifts and skills. The board and myself, and it's weird that I say that because I actually am on the board and I want everybody to know that. So the board, which includes me, is probably what I should say. The board, which includes me, felt that it was really important that we bring someone in who had expertise around supporting this community through this time of transition. And it's not just about this transition. There's never actually been a transitional person that's come in and done any work between any of the ministers who have moved through. And what's kind of amazing is that I am the 5th minister in 60 years, which is like a really small number for the amount of years that we have actually existed. So part of what Cynthia is going to be doing is just supporting us to be able to assess what are our needs right now? What's really alive within the community right now? Where do we want to go right now? And the intention is that by January or February, after we have listened and come together, and this is really about the community's voice. The next 6 months is about the community's voice. That will guide us as to what we're going to be stepping into going forward in 2023. So, Cynthia, is there anything else that I need to say, do you think, before you take over here? Oh, hold on, we're not hearing you in the room.
in this space where we've got 1 foot in what has been and 1 foot in what is yet to be, and we don't really know what yet to be looks like. So these are interesting times, but they are really rich. The other thing about threshold, the word threshold, it aligns with the process of threshing grain. And so that's removing the husk from the grain. And when we do that, the threshing room floor gets covered, saturated with these tiny grains that are gold in color. So when we are in liminal space, we are literally sitting on the gold. So while these are uncertain times and we may feel uneasy, there is so much possibility, so much potential in these times. And these times are all around us. They're not just in ministry. And so leaning into this and being the very best community you can be not only changes your lives and the lives of the people at Unity in Marin, but it changes the world. So it's so important to do this. And so what we're going to be doing is engage in a process of deep listening. Deep listening is a term I borrow from Theory U, which really looks at listening deeply to spirit and considering what is trying to emerge at this time. And it requires listening to spirit, it requires listening to one another, it requires listening to the world around you and the very environment in which you live. And so what we're going to do is we're going to engage in a process of deep listening. And that means I'm going to invite you to come at this with an open mind, what the Buddhists refer to as the beginner's mind, where you accept that you don't know. And that's exciting because it makes available to you new possibilities and rich new ways of being. I'm going to invite you to come at this with an open heart. You know, so many of our Unity communities that I've worked with, I walk into this space and I say, there is love in this room. And I know that is true for your community. So this is an opportunity to open your hearts even deeper, to open your hearts to one another, to open yourselves to the world around you, to see how you can take that open heart and touch the world around you. And finally, I'm going to invite you to come at this with an open will, recognizing that the journey forward you will participate in, you will think about together, we will brainstorm together, but ultimately it is what spirit is seeking to birth in this community. And I'm going to invite you to align with that, to listen to spirit, and to be willing to answer the call, whatever that might be. So in transition, there are 5 focal points, and I've outlined those in one of the docs I provided, but we will be looking at each of these. Depending on the situation in a community, I will spend more time, more energy in one arena than the next, but we want to be sure that we're really paying attention to all 5 of these. And the order will be determined based on what I see, but I'll just speak into connections, the relationships that exist in and around. How do we build those relationships, and how do we maybe invite new relationships into the fold? Leadership for me, I can explain it in so many ways, but leadership to me is not just about your formal leadership. Peter Sankey talks about a leadership community. And so each of you are leaders in your own right. How do we develop the capacity of the leaders in this community, however you serve, to really continue to grow into your deepest, fullest potential, to surface the genius in the room and in each individual, and to bring it together to the collective to move you forward. Heritage, of course, is about your past, your rich history. Even though this is a time of transition in which we're going to be looking at what the future is going to be, we want to build it on the rich heritage, the foundations that have already been established. Whatever your leadership does as you move forward, we know that they stand on the shoulders of those who have gone before them. And so all of that rich history we want to honor, even as we make changes and move forward. Mission is, mission is about your mission. We will at some point review your vision, mission, core values, your identity, and determine whether it needs to be tweaked a little bit, or whether it's really serving you well. And if it's serving you well, we want to really activate your capacity to live it fully and completely and attain your full potential as a spiritual community. And of course, the future is where you choose to go together, the forward movement of this ministry, what it looks like, how you can begin to lean into it. So the beginning part of this process is an assessment process. I work with an appreciative inquiry process, which is I will be meeting with each of your leadership and each of your staff members individually, and going through a couple of open-ended questions to kind of get a sense of what's alive in the community. And with each of those individuals, I will also be looking at how their role as a leader interfaces with the greater whole. I will also be holding listening circles for the rest of you, and I invite you to sign up for them. You will get the same questions as the leadership, minus the questions pertaining specifically to their role. The intention here is for me to listen deeply, to begin to feel the heart of this community. And I will then draw all this information together, and I will create a report, my observations, what I see at this moment, which will be made available to you. And I will begin to work with the board and transition team in discerning our next steps and what the forward movement looks like. And the transition team, the other thing I'm going to invite you to do, in addition to signing up for the listening circles, is to send me, and I'll give you my email, and Reverend Deanne has it, of course, as well, to send me 4 names of individuals you recommend for the transition team. The transition team is going to be working closely with me. I will be working with your formal leadership, but they are going to help me stay connected to the pulse of this community. So these individuals will not be board members or staff members. They really help me balance the different perspectives in the ministry, and to continue to listen to the whole rather than individual parts. So I'm going to invite you to send me 4 names of individuals that you would recommend for the transition team, and it could be your own name, of course. And what I'm looking for is people that are spiritually centered, people that are emotionally mature, they're trusted in the community, respected by the community, actively involved in the community, and able to see the big picture and honor all perspectives. we want them to be humble and not be pushing an agenda, but to really look at the whole. And I will be meeting with them weekly for about an hour and a half throughout the time, and there'll be some additional work as well. So this will be a significant time commitment. So I will take all at. I'm also going to be looking for representation of the diversity of the community, and only one household member will be able to serve at a time. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the list, I'm going to collate it, I'm going to share with the board. This is the list that I came up with. These are the number of people that recommended them, and they're going to help me consider whether or not we've got members of the same household on the list, whether or not the diversity, where the diversity of the community is. And we're going to narrow that down to 8 members that I'll individually connect with and make sure they're willing to serve and able to serve. And that team will, of course, be introduced to you as well. So the final thing I want to invite you to do, I will be going through this book with the transition team. There's a book by Todd Bollinger called Canoeing the Mountains. It's about liminal space in spiritual communities. It comes from a Christian perspective. You might need to translate it a bit, but it would be a great book for you to read so you have a deeper understanding of what we're about. And now I will be quiet and open myself to any questions that you might have.
Thank you. So, and I do want to just be clear that the liminal space that Cynthia is referring to isn't just about Reverend Tim leaving and my stepping in. The liminal space that we're referring to is also post-COVID. I mean, this is a much larger container than just what this one specific event is in time and in space. So I just want people to understand that spiritual communities across the world are trying to figure this out right now. We are in a completely different world. So even those people who might be like, well, I'm okay with the transition, right? Well, what are we doing this for? This isn't just about the transition of leadership. This is about the transition that we as a community are being invited to discover and get curious about and experiment with so that we can be impactful and meaningful 20 years from now. Like that we are building something now the same way that those 90 founding families built this for us 20 years ago. Like that's what the invitation is for all of us right now. Okay? Just wanted to clarify. So if there are any questions to Cynthia, do we understand the transition team? This is really this is a huge piece, which I love. The board got very excited when she mentioned the transition team because the transition team isn't the leadership. The transition team is the community. And it's an opportunity for the community to be very hands-on, to be right in there with this, what we're doing and what and when I say we, I really mean the collective we, right? This is what it takes to become mission-centric, to make it about the community focused on mission rather than the minister or the board making decisions that then filter downward into the community. We're really trying to shift this around, this whole dynamic around, and so this is the entry point that we're stepping into. So if you have any questions about that transition team, because she needs names. She needs people who you think would be a good fit on that transition team. And like she said, you can put yourself out there. So if you have any questions about the team, now would be the time to ask them. And Barbara has a question, so I'm going to get the microphone for her.
Thank you. So,
yeah, just give me a second.
how do people It's not.
Just give him a second. So the
Connect.
Zoom means that with Zoom, so everyone understands what Connect is doing up there with all those buttons. The way the sound works with Zoom and in the room and everything, it's kind of like a walkie-talkie. So if we're talking in the room, then Zoom can't be talking. And if Zoom is talking up there, then we can't be talking here. So Connect is trying to anticipate where the conversation's going. He's trying to figure out which button to mute or to unmute or to turn on or turn off. Can we give Connect some love, please? So if you get the microphone, he can see you, right? If you get the microphone and it doesn't start right away, just give it a second. He's frantically up there trying to unmute people. Okay, go ahead, Barbara.
Okay, my question is, who do I give the 4 names to and when?
So in the email that I sent out a transition update dated Wednesday of this past week. To everyone. It went out to everyone. In that transition update was Cynthia Vermillion Foster's email. There was sign-ups in that email for the listening circles as well. And everything, and then on the yellow sheet, Bonnie is pointing out, on the yellow sheet that everybody has, Cynthia Vermillion Foster's email is on that sheet as well. She's making herself available, very, very accessible and available. In the blast that went out, we will make sure that we keep putting the sign-up sheets for the listening circles. We have room for 60 people in the listening circles. So first come, first serve, folks. So go get your slot so that your voice is heard. This is all about hearing from the community. And if there's more than 60 people who want to be heard, Cynthia has said that she will make space for an online written survey that people can fill in. So I said to her, I don't know if 60 slots is going to be enough. So prove me right. Prove me right.
Question about how long the other circle, transition circle, will last. An hour and a half a week. But is that going to have any time contingency? Like 2 months, 3 months?
Cynthia?
The question, if you could help me understand, do you mean how long the transition team will be meeting? My expectation, it'll be through the time I'm involved with you, so probably through February, and we may meet less frequently once we get things going. The transition, I'm finishing up an assignment now, and the transition team here has been extraordinary, and they want to keep meeting after I leave. So I think you'll find it very rich and engaging, and I do know that it's a big commitment.
I am putting the documents in the chat again for those people who needed them, so I'm going to put them in the chat again so that you can access them that way. They were also available in that blast that went out. There was a link to all of these documents in that email. So during this time of transition, the goal is to send out regular communications. And so they will always say transition update and the date, so that is sort of, that it's not just a regular e-blast, it's specifically information that's related to this transition work that Reverend Cynthia is going to be doing with us, okay? Are there any questions online in the Zoom world? You guys are all good out there? Carolyn, where's the camera? There?
I wondered, you talked about this transition team looking towards the future and what is our vision and our mission. How is this different than creating a new mission statement or a new vision, which was in the past a community process? Are you trying to cull down the vision for the future? And if so, is there a a future use for this, or is this really just about how we get through this time to the next? See, I'm just not clear on how far forward you're looking and what you want to accomplish with this small group of people.
Thank you. And I was not clear. The transition team will not be determining the future direction of the church. They will keep me connected to the community, the pulse of the community. We will do a number of community processes. And when we get to the part where we review the vision, mission, core values, that will be a full community process. What the transition team will do will be to help me design and determine what needs the most attention, where we need to go next. So they are kind of my eyes and ears on the ground in the community. They will not be making any decisions on their own other than to help me stay on top of things.
And I think the question, so the mission, vision, and core values is not going to be decided by a select group of people. That is a community process that we are going to be stepping into, right? That's not going to be decided by that's what the whole point of this is, that it's a community process. And we may decide we don't need to change our vision, mission, and core values. That's what we're going to discover. We're going to sit down and we're going to look at them. We're going to assess as a group as to what is it. Does this move? When those were created, that was in 2010, and you visioned for 2020. So what year is it now? 2022. So we want to take a look at those, and it will be the long-term vision of what it is that where we as a community see ourselves going. Right, but it's time to revisit that. And again, it doesn't mean it's going to change. It's just that it's time to revisit it and bring some consciousness to it. Mm-hmm. Tom?
A little more information on the process with the listening circles. What's going to be involved? Are we going to do a community survey? Are we going to have small group gatherings? How does that work?
The listening circles, I'm going to do 2-hour meetings. You're going to be asked to sign up with up to 10 people, doing an appreciative inquiry process, learning from you. I'll do these via Zoom. Reverend Deanne has all the dates for you to sign up. So this will be an opportunity for me to hear from you face-to-face, virtual face-to-face, and learn what's alive for you and what's important to you. And all that will go into the report. Once I've gotten the assessment done, then we will look at the processes and start really getting the details of what the next several months will look like. And I will also, you guys all have my emails. You're welcome to email me. I will also set up some office hours if you want to set up an appointment with me, and we can talk about your questions or your concerns. I'm going to, as much as possible, make myself available to everyone. Does that help?
It does. Any other questions about the listening circles?
Thanks, Tom. Thank you. I recall back in this sanctuary, help me out with the date, but 2010 maybe? All right. So we did a massive meeting in here with the end result that we wrote all over the walls on paper of our missions. And we came up with this beautiful poster, what we perceive we can achieve. Is this a little bit like that same thing? Okay, go ahead, Cynthia.
I will be making a number of trips out, be there face to face, and every time I'm out there, we will have opportunities to connect, and there'll be processes that I'll engage with you in. So as much as possible, I'm going to engage the entire community as we move forward.
Yes, Beverly. The short answer is yes. I think there was somebody behind Beverly that had their hand up. Claire, and then somebody over here, Monica.
Well, I'm just curious, Cynthia, where is your home?
I'm in the Kansas City area.
She's near the home village.
Will you please describe the appreciative inquiry process you've referred to?
Yes, okay. Appreciative inquiry comes from the focus is really to, rather than doing a survey where you just number things or this is really dialogue. So there'll be 4 or 5 questions. They're open-ended questions. Open-ended questions for me means they're really questions that I don't have any idea what the answer is. I'm going to learn from you. Appreciative inquiry comes from David Copperfield, who created the process, and I'll ask about concerns, but we're really going to focus deeply on what's working and build on what's working well, rather than focusing on problem solving. Doesn't mean we won't address problems, but the idea is to really call forth the gifts and talents in the room or in the community.
Thank you.
So anyone who did the process with me for the education mission and purpose, when we put together the mission and purpose for the education program, that process that I walked us through was appreciative inquiry. So she'll be walking the community through a similar process. Are there any other questions? Yep, Cindy's got one, and Elizabeth after Cindy.
I confess I did not do the homework and read the blast. So I have lots of questions as we're going through her. On the listening circles, is that something that each circle only meets once? Do they continue meeting? Can people be in more than one circle?
No, this will be just once. It's really part of the assessment process. I don't know what we're going to design. There might be opportunities to have other groups that I meet with periodically, but this particular listening circle is really about the assessment process. My intention is to get as broad an understanding of the community as a whole, so that I can develop an awareness of the whole and create a report that helps us discern where our focus needs to be at each stage of the process.
Can you pass it to Elizabeth?
No. So the transition team is only 8 people. Is that correct? We're all going to turn.
Is what the walkie-talkie thing doesn't
We're
happen.
all going to turn in 4 names that we feel would be good on the team. And in the end, there will only be 8 people that will be on that team, correct?
And I created a document that walks you through that. I will look at those people that get the most recommendations and focus on them as much as possible, but I'm also going to be working with leadership to make sure that we get a diverse perspective on the community, and that we don't have members of the same household on the community. Now, what I will tell you is the transition team is going to be connecting with the community. probably reaching out via email or phone calls and staying connected to you so that I have your perspective as I move forward.
The bottom line is 8 people on that team, correct?
Correct.
Was it thing that only 60 people? What was that? What's the only 60 people?
The 60 people is the listening circles that we're going to be doing in the next few weeks to create the assessment.
So just to clarify, there's 2 pieces that we're stepping into, right? So the first one is listening circles. There are 6 of them that Cynthia has given me dates and times for, and each circle can have up to 10 people in it. That is for her to do the appreciative inquiry with 60 members of our community and begin to do the assessment of where we're going. At the same time, she's also doing one-on-ones with leadership and staff. So those folks in leadership and staff are not going to be part of the listening circles. So there's another 25 people that she's meeting one-on-one, and then the 60 that is from the community. And that is all happening in the next 2 weeks. So you need to go click that link and sign up because the dates are coming up. Then the second piece that we're building is the transition team. So the listening circles are just kind of a one-time thing for right now, right? There might be more, depending on what we learn, there'll be more opportunities for other things in the future, but this is to start us off. And then the transition team is, we're asking people to submit 4 names each. She's going to look at what names keep coming up and keep coming up. We're going to look at where we need to make sure that diversity is represented as well on those teams, on that team. And there will be 8 people who are picked, and they will work with Cynthia very closely. And they are sort of how she connects to the community. So it's through those 8 people that she hears and understands what's happening within the community. So you can think of them as sort of the semaphore. They're sort of, they're checking in with us, and then they're communicating that to Cynthia so that she really has a sense of what's going on. Let me be clear. What we're trying to do is get rid of the murmurs, the murmuring, right? No more murmuring. We want the community to be heard. So instead of the murmuring going on in the corners and in the parking lot and under the stairs and wherever it's happening, right? In your homes, we're instead creating this transition team that will connect with the community so that those murmurs aren't murmurs. They go all the way up to Reverend Cynthia. Right? Does that make sense to everybody? Okay, Barbara.
Well, I'm sort of thinking, on the board, I feel like that's important, but I also feel what's really important is that we say what we really most appreciate. What do we want to have grow? What do we appreciate most about this community? What do we love? And how can we expand that so we can all play more?
Well said, Barbara. Yes. Cynthia, did you want to add anything to what I said?
Yes. The other thing that I really want to make clear with the transition team is this, as a consultant, I don't serve Deanne, I don't serve the board or the leadership or any individual in the community. I serve the whole. So with the transition team, I'll need to do some specific work with leadership, but with the transition team, I'm attempting as much as possible to create a balanced perspective so that I have an awareness of what's aligned for the leadership and an awareness of what's aligned for the community.
Thank you, Cynthia. Are there any other questions? Elizabeth has another question. Here she comes.
Well, I'm curious because there are people applying to be on the board, and we don't know yet who's going to be on the board. And so if they're on the board, we can't put them on the team.
So just submit the names you want to submit.
Okay.
Okay, don't worry about that. Just submit the names you want to submit. If they end up being on the board, they obviously cannot be on the transition team, right? But just submit the names you want to submit.
Okay.
We can sort all that out later. Any other questions? Are we excited about this? Or are we freaking out? Honestly. It's exciting, right? It is exciting. I'm really looking forward. I said to you at my installation, I said that I'm really coming into this space with my curiosity, right? I don't know, you guys. And if you think I do, I'm sorry to tell you that I don't. I'm really curious, and I am a big believer in hive mind, like big believer in hive mind. I know that there is much more available to us through the wisdom that is present if everyone in the community is participating and lending their wisdom. And the way I sort of envision these 6 months is that we have some incredible community involvement at Unity and Marin. It really leaves me like awestruck. But sometimes it feels like the horses, they're waving at me. Oh, okay. I'll get to, thank you, Momo. I see her hand up. Sometimes it feels to me like the horses are all sort of pulling in different directions, energetically. But what I would love is what I see this time to be is a place for us to have some cohesion, for us to come into agreement, for us to decide as a group, as a community, where are we going, what's our priorities, and then build a strategic plan from there to be able to implement whatever the vision is that's arising. But I'm a big believer that the vision is going to be way more interesting with the more participation that we have from the community. The more interesting, the more strong, the more incredible the vision is going to be about who it is that we are becoming. So it is a commitment that we are asking of you for the next 6 months to say, okay, we're going to do this together. We're going to be in this together as a community to sort of say yes and discover together who we are and what we value, right? So Momo, you had a question? Momo, you're muted.
Okay, I'm very great. Thank you. I'm very grateful that I came to the town hall today, and it's given me confidence and reassurance in this transitional process that we're going to be going through. And I just signed up for one of the listening circles. And my commitment is to stop my own personal murmuring. It doesn't serve anyone. Not me, not Reverend Dan, not our community. So that's my commitment. Stop the murmuring. And if I have something to say it out loud so everyone can hear it. And I'm glad that we are also reinforcing, as Reverend Deanne just said, it's not the me, but it's the we. It's our entire community. So that's what I wanted to say today.
Thank you, Momo. Yes, amen, ashe. Yeah, I mean, this was important to me personally, that we create a space for people to be heard, for the voice of the community to be made known. I keep thinking back, honestly, you guys, I keep thinking back to the 90 families that created this space. And yes, I know Richard Manti was amazing. I know he was. But without those 90 families, this would not exist. It was those 90 families that did the actual movement of it forward. He may have had a vision, but the community is what actualized that vision. And that's what I'm interested in seeing, that's our legacy for me. I see that as one of our most powerful legacies, is that we have that level of commitment and stick-it-to-itness and make it happen. People have been catching me up on how many obstacles there were to this building. Actually, being here. Oh my goodness. And those 90 families were like, no, they just moved it forward. I mean, it's just amazing. So that's the energy that I am interested in personally stepping into with all of you. So, Shay, did you have a question?
I have a comment, if that's okay. So I helped Tim drop off his car, and while for Hawaii, and there was this guy there, and I started having a conversation with him, and he was telling me he came from like Chicago, and I asked him about the Bay Area, and he said that there was a lot of violence in Chicago. So I said, if there was one word that you would use to solve that issue, what would it be? And the word he chose was unity. And so Tim came by and I'm like, can you believe this? Like out of all the words he chose unity. The Apostle Paul talks about living up to the values that we've already attained. And I feel like that's what this is about. This is about being even more unity in that sense. And because of that, I think it's super exciting. Yeah.
All right. Ashe. Cynthia, is there anything you'd like to end with here?
I can't think of anything. I can't wait to meet you all. We'll do it on Zoom first, but at some point in the not so distant future, I will get to see you face to face. It's going to be delightful working with you, and I love and appreciate each one of you already.
Thank you so much, Cynthia. Thank you, everybody, for attending. And just know, Cynthia is available for questions. The board is available for questions. This is our time, right? All right. Peace and blessings, everyone. We will onward.